everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. Maybe the reason that life is truly so stinking special is the fact that there's no rewind or fast forward button, just simply patience and pure faith. I love this quote so much because it truly embodies everything that I was feeling this weekend while completing the Impossible Mile Challenge. And I'm going to talk about all the life lessons that came from doing said challenge. But before I do that, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the week. I had the beautiful opportunity to go backpacking with Dave, and during our backpacking time, we got the chance to try the backpacker meals that are freeze-dried, and this was my first go at this, so I was definitely a little bit nervous, but what happened was I fell in love with this chicken fajita mix from Adventure Tacos, that would be cool, Adventure Meals, I'm pretty sure is the brand. And honestly, what it reminded me of were these bangin' chicken tinga tacos that I have created before. And so that is actually going to be the recipe for this week. We're bringing back the chicken tinga tacos, a healthier version of what you'll normally see out there. So be sure, if that sounds super interesting to you, and if you like fajitas or like the seasonings around fajitas, you need to definitely try this recipe. So be sure to go to the show notes before you leave the episode today to grab it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and chat about what went down this weekend. So myself and Dave did the Impossible Mile, and it's one of those challenges that has been circulating around the Instagram feed. For those of you that are into health and fitness, you probably have seen it. There's definitely different versions of it, but the version that we did was essentially 4 laps around the track, so 400 meters. And within those 400 meters, you did different things. So the first lap, or the first 400 meters, was burpee broad jumps. The second was walking lunges. The third was a bear crawl. And the fourth was just a full-on run. And so when I looked at this originally, I was like, I don't think that this is going to be super terrible. Let's just give this a shot. I think I could put up a decent time. I felt pretty good about it. I knew that it wasn't going to be a walk in the park, but I was just like, this will be a fun way to sort of test my fitness in a different way that incorporates some movements that I don't always get to do. So yeah, let's give it a shot and let's go for it. And Dave and I were like, maybe it will take us like 30 minutes or so. I mean, we had no idea. We also had not seen other people's times. We just kind of saw the challenge and we're like, yep, sign us up for that. This will be perfect for the 4th of July. Well, that 30 minutes turned into the first 30 minutes that it took us to just get through the burpee broad jumps, the 1 lap around the track. And holy Jesus. There were some moments during that first lap where I was like, I don't know, man. Is this really worth it? It's hot. I'm starting to get blisters on my hands. My knees are getting jacked right now. I've been having some hip and ankle problems over the last couple of weeks, and I don't know, man. My patience was tested, my mental tenacity, grit, perseverance. I mean, you freaking name it. Everything mental was tested. My physical state outside of just, the aches and pains that were coming from my hip were good, but aerobically, I was phenomenal. I was in a great space. I paced it out really well. It just was one of those things where it's like, you feel like you weren't moving. You were putting in this effort, but you felt like you actually weren't going anywhere. And so when we finally got past the first 30 minutes of just burpee broad jumps, I was like, well, if I just finished that, I'm definitely not throwing in the towel now. There's only 3 more laps left, and I think that we can do the dang thing and just get it done. So it was interesting how my intentions of kind of going beast mode on this challenge, it went from that to I just want to complete it. But all of that to say, we ended up completing it. It took us about an hour and 24 minutes. And yes, we took rest in between each lap, got fueled up again, whether it was, grabbing a honey stinger, popping it in our mouth, grabbing some water, putting gloves on, whatever the case is. We took about a minute in between each one. And so that obviously, took up some time. But we did the dang thing. And I remember I was doing the walking lunges and I was like yelling at Dave. I was like, Dave, this is going to be my podcast for the week. I need my phone. And he like ran forward and like got my phone and ran back to meet me. And allowed for me to just, as I was doing walking lunges, just typing out what it is that I wanted to remember to talk to you guys about on the podcast this week, because there truly was so many life lessons that came out and just hit you in the face in this moment. And so I just wanted to share those. And so that's what we're going to dive into. The first one is that the first step is always the hardest. And I can tell you that that is truly what happened, is that first lap was easily the hardest out of all 4 laps. It tested me mentally in every way possible. Again, it really dug deep into my patience and my ability to just start to block out those things that weren't serving me. It tested me in every single way. But once I was able to really get into it, get into the zone and start to get into future laps, things weren't that bad. It actually got easier, and you just, put your head down and you freaking worked until there was no more work to be done. And that just reminds me so much of life, right? And starting a new journey. We are so held back consistently by the stories that we tell ourselves, by the doubts that we have of ourselves, by the fears of experiencing pain and the fears around failing. We worry so much about the how, and therefore lose sight of the reason why we're even doing this in the first place. But again, like I mentioned, once you start to take the first step and you start to get your feet a little bit more wet, you realize that it's not all that bad and you are actually more capable than you think. And so if you're getting ready to start a new journey, or if you were on the cusp of saying yes to yourself, saying yes to something that's important to you, please know that the first step is going to be the hardest, but after that, you get a little stronger. You get a little bit more faithful and believing within yourself and within your abilities. But it just merely takes cutting past all of the doubt, ripping off that fear of failure Band-Aid, and just taking the first step. Maybe taking the first couple of steps before things start to clear up and you realize, I actually can do this. And this is 100% possible. Again, if I put my head down and I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. The next thing that came about from this all was just this idea that when you start a new journey, you guys, seriously, the worst case scenario of what could happen is that you learn something new and you are able to adapt better. Or you learn how to adaptability skills. That is it. Yes. You could quit. And I would argue that that's probably the worst case scenario. But if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you forget about the time, you forget about the outcome 9 times out of 10, and you just get lost in curiosity. You get lost in this moment and thinking about, how can I adapt in this specific moment? What is this experience truly teaching me right now? When you get lost in those questions and you get super present, the gifts that come to you are truly life-changing. You are able to see life in a different perspective. You are able to actually think about what matters. You're able to think about, how can I ask myself better questions in these moments to get better answers? That all comes from just starting the journey and getting lost in curiosity of how you could become better, step by step by step. And it is truly an absolute gift. The next thing that came from doing the Impossible Mile, what was truly highlighted to me, was that patience is yet the most important skill that you can build, hands down. If I could put one describing word on this whole experience, it would be patience. Every journey in life, you guys, requires it. And when you become patient, you allow yourself to become present. When you become more present, you give yourself the chance to be more curious, just like I mentioned before. And you get the chance to explore, and you get the chance to celebrate. And here's the beautiful thing, and here's where I'm going with this, is your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. It's true. Although while I believe that there's ways to multitask, your mind can truly only focus on one thing at a time. So when you are able to get into this state of just pure celebration, you feel that fire that keeps you going. And where that all comes from is just patience, learning to enjoy the journey, learning to learn again, learning to get curious again. It's such a beautiful thing. And if there's any skill that I think that you should work on, it should be patience. So hopefully this inspires you to A, either start the journey that you're afraid of starting, or B, if you feel like you struggle with just basic patience, what is something that you can do daily? Or even, let's just say, once, just once this week, maybe even this month. What is one thing that you can do that you can challenge yourself with that will allow for you to further build those skills of patience? Because I promise you, when you start to gain that patience, just, again, your ability to navigate life with just joy and gratitude gets so much easier, and it just gets so much better. Ugh, patience is the best, and I still struggle with it to this day, which is why I'm so grateful that I did the Impossible Mile. So patience, patience, patience. The next thing that came from doing the Impossible Mile was the life lesson that negativity can 100% be in the car with you. Contrary to popular belief, people think that they are only successful if they do not have negative thoughts, like ever again, that they have finally made it when they don't have negative thoughts. But I'm here to tell you that negativity can in fact be in the car with you. And the biggest thing that you have to remember about that is while it's in the car with you, you just can't let it be in the driver's seat. As long as negativity is not in the driver's seat, you are in total control. You are in total control of steering your car in whatever direction it is that you truly desire to go in. There were so many times, especially during the burpee broad jumps. Oh my God, during the burpee broad jumps. And even during, I would say, the bear crawls, where either Dave or myself, where we were like, shit, this sucks. This hurts. I don't know. Like, just so much just crap that kind of came out. And it wasn't like the whole time, but there were some moments where him and I were like, I don't know, man, is this really worth it? But when there was those negative comments, whether it came from me or from him, what it allowed for me to do in that moment was just to become aware of it, to become aware of the fact that I was uncomfortable. And that it's totally okay to be uncomfortable, but that's merely all it was just discomfort. In that moment, I was able to acknowledge that discomfort and be able to politely tell it that, you know what, while I understand and I totally get that this is, potentially a valid excuse, potential concern, I'm just going to choose a different thing today. This isn't going to harm me. It's just here to protect me, but just because it's here to protect me doesn't mean that it's right for me. I instead want to turn the volume down on that and start to instead turn the volume up on the thing that's going to help me take one more step. Not a million more steps, just one more step. And then after that, just one more step after that. So this is your reminder that as you are going through your journey, you will have negativity surrounding you. And that's okay. You are not wrong. You are not failing. Embrace it. Hear it out. Acknowledge it. See what it means. Try and learn the lesson that it's trying to teach you. And then from there, be able to politely say, hey, that's cool and all, but I'm going to choose something different because you're in control. You are in the driver's seat of this. And the more and more that you do that, the more and more you just get better at being able to block it out, even when it comes into your awareness and say, that just came out of nowhere, but I'm not going to listen to it. It's such an awesome skill to gain, in addition to patience, right? So it is okay that negativity is in the car with you. In fact, it's inevitable. Just learn how to redirect it. Learn how to turn the volume down on it and stay strong in the driver's seat. One of the last things that came from doing the Impossible Mile was what you think and what you hope you might get out of something. Well, it might be exactly the opposite of what it is that you actually get. But what it is that you actually get was in fact meant to be. I said this at the very beginning. I wanted to put up a good time. I wanted to show myself that I could do it. I wanted to, kind of not necessarily feed the ego, but I want to be like, yep, did that. But what came from it was so much better than that. It was so much better than putting up this blazing fast time and feeling like a badass. Instead, it was just like the ability to really work on my patience, the ability to build up my mental game that much further for when I'm going through the thick of it and I just don't want to go any further. And honestly, I said, Dave, I was like, this is an awesome opportunity to work on some long zone 2 aerobic work that, overall builds fitness. I was like, this is exactly what we were talking about the other day of what I need to do more of during this sort of off season while I start to build my way back up to world championships, state and level of fitness. This is awesome, right? So like I was over here in La La Land, like, oh, it'd be really cool. But what I actually got out of it was this. And so I think there's two special things that come from that. But the biggest thing that comes from that that's super special is that if you get something completely different out of it than what you originally intended, it doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you courageously chose to continue to walk through something and you landed on the outcome that was actually meant for you. The one that probably was going to give you a hell of a lot more than what that other outcome was. How special is it that you were actually able to keep going and seek out what it is that was meant for you? So, with all of that being said, just know that when you start something, you might not get to where it is that you think that you're going. But if you trust in the process and you trust in the journey, you stay patient, you stay curious, you stay open-hearted and open-minded, you are going to lead yourself where it is that you're meant to be. And sometimes that place that's meant to be, and actually 9 times out of 10 it is going to be so much better than where you originally thought. So just continue to find that trust within yourself and the trust within the journey that you're on. All right, what I want to leave you with is this, as it relates to my time doing the Impossible Mile, is that never, ever, ever forget, please remember that emotions are temporary. So never make your decisions or base your decisions off of emotions. In the heat of a moment, give yourself the gift of 4 count deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth while closing your eyes, and finding that calmness. Always remember to act from that space and just stay focused on the step that you are currently taking, not the steps that you have to go. And with each step that you choose to take forward, you'll start to remember that you are so much stronger than you think. And you do, in fact, have the strength to handle whatever it is that's waiting for you on the other side. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. And I hope that if this podcast truly impacted you, that you would leave a rating or review if you haven't done so already, or more importantly, be able to share this with friends and family. And while I have you guys on the line, I wanted to plug this really quick for those of you that are local to Colorado that did not see my post that I shared last week. I have the awesome opportunity to partner up with Cirrus Fitness up north in Frederick, Colorado, to put on a DECA workshop where I will be breaking down every single zone of the DECA race, helping you get more efficient within each of those zones, along with building an unstoppable strategy, an unstoppable mindset, and then being able to actually do a live workout with you to show you what it is that you are capable of with everything that you learn that day. Now, this workshop is truly for anyone from the beginner that's looking to start their DECA journey and is getting ready to do their first race to the person that's trying to qualify for the elite wave later this year for world championships. So if it is something that you are interested in, please go to one of my social media sites and you can find my link tree in my bio. If you go to Instagram, I have a link right in there where you can click on it and you can register straight from there, or you can go to the Cirrus website and find the event from there too. But until then, you guys, go be courageous. Go take that first step and do the dang thing that you are more than capable of doing. And I will be sure to see you guys next week for another episode of Talk About It Tuesday. See you then.